Hey everybody, and thanks for watching Woodcrest Bonsai. So about a year ago, in fact, I think it was the 17th of April of last year, I did a video on this tree. And the history of this tree was it was a cutting and it rooted and it's a parrot's beak, first of all. And it grew and I put it in a bonsai pot and it was a really nice little tree. And then it got knocked off the bench. And in that video, I talk about it being knocked off the bench by wind, but I think it was raccoons. Anyway, regardless, it broke some limbs, and I can show you those scars once we trim it up. And it also had roots that were all lopsided. They were all on one side, and there was nothing on the other side. So I actually attempted to promote root formation by poking holes into the trunk and then adding rooting hormone and then burying it. And in that video that you can click on the link at the end, you can watch that video. It's back when I still called myself Alan's Bonsai. And I put it in a different bonsai pot. And the very next day, I knocked it off the bench. What happened was my sleeve caught one of the branches and it just tumbled. So I was really mad, and I was mad at myself, but I would have told you I was mad at the universe. How dare you? Anyway, so just quick, I grabbed a 6-inch bulb pan and I just jammed it in there, and I mean literally I was so mad. It's like, I was growling. And then I've done nothing with it ever since. So it's a year. And it's been in a lot of shade, so it really hasn't elongated the way parrot's beak has the potential to elongate. And the reason I'm showing you this is because in my feed, when you go to a person's YouTube channel, they give you 3 videos. They say, for you. And even when you go to your own channel, it does that. And it turns out that the feed this morning, this was one of those videos, that original video a year ago. So I thought, why not? We'll do an update a year later. Holy cow. And so the first thing this thing needs is a haircut. We need to remove all this excess long growth. And then I can show you some of the scars from the branches that were severed when it fell. And then we'll do the reveal to see whether roots actually appeared where I tried to promote them to appear. So before I do any kind of styling, I'm just going to cut off the excess without really even thinking about where it's going or what it's doing. And this was a very nice tree. I really like this tree. Pre-damage. Even with the root, that was not really quite what I wanted. Okay, so there we are. Here we are. Alright, so if you look, you can see quite the nasty scar right there. And I do believe there was another one, right here. That was a branch that came out and filled this area in beautifully. And this was really not that big of a deal because I still had this part of the first main branch. And as you can see, the tree still has some basic structure. If I was going to do nothing with this tree and just try to get it to be more of a bonsai that I like, I would want all this little stuff here, this one, and this one in the back to all elongate. Fill in here, fill in a little in the front. And But the biggest thing now is to see what happened with the roots. And I'm going to have to change my equipment for that. So I'm going to get rid of the turntable. And then I'm going to bring my trusty plastic tray. And I know it's a plastic tray. Oh, it fell off. There was a little sign that said plastic tray. Okay, so the joke is over. Can't use that joke anymore. I was looking forward to using that joke. Okay, so now what? Eh? What's it gonna look like? And I'm probably gonna put this back into a bonsai pot. It has nice form. Like I said, it needs some work, and I may work on it a little bit more here. In fact, I know I'm going to give this guy here a little bit more. And I suppose we could zoom in just a touch, get rid of the debris. All right. So now let's see what happens with the roots. They've come out of the drain holes. So the place I wanted roots was right in here. I think I'm going to go get my root hook. Okay, here we go. Has anything actually materialized? And it appears I may as well do the whole thing, because it looks like I'm going to be putting this back into a bonsai pot. And since I buried the trunk, this procedure here is going to be revealing the trunk that I buried. See, so it's got that big root there. I know it's got some other big roots. Yeah, there's another one right there. But nothing. Can you see the scar? Right there all the way across? Nothing. Didn't do anything. So that was the second time I tried that. And I usually use the baseball rule. Of course, we all know what the rules in baseball, right? 3 strikes and you're out. But you know what? I think I'm just going to do 2 strikes and we're out. I'm just not even going to bother. It'll just have some lopsided roots. Okay, then grab my scissors. Do some of this. Give it a trim off the bottom. We got some, well, that was easy. You say we got some pretty nasty roots that need to come off, and just came off all by itself. So it's unfortunate, but the procedure did not work. Not at all, actually. Which is a little disappointing, but what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Alright, so now what do we do? Got 2 really heavy lower branches, and then there's so much just missing in here. And I don't know, I'm thinking of just taking the whole top off. like that, and then chopping this way back, and just regrowing a top. And I guess when I said I was thinking of doing it, I was serious. Alright, there we go. And it'll pop like crazy. It's a parrot's beak. If you're unfamiliar with parrot's beak, they are glorified weeds. Very aggressive growers. Super easy to root from cuttings. Very difficult to get to root from old wood, apparently. But there we go. And there's still some decision-making process on this, so we've got basically 2 tiers of the first main branch. But at this point, I think that's okay. So now I'll get myself a bonsai pot and get rid of this crud on the tray. And we'll put him in. Hey, where are you? We'll put him in to a bonsai pot. So I am now going to use my super duper high-tech method of choosing a pot, and that is to jam the tree into a pot and see what it looks like. So I picked 4, obviously. So let's get rid of the 3, and we'll go through them one at a time. And this is just a very visual thing for me. I understand the rules that a pot, the length of the pot should be about 2/3 of either the height of the tree or the width of the tree, whichever is bigger. So this pot here would probably be okay, but it's a little small, especially since I'm planning on growing this thing back out. So it would work for now, but I think over time it's going to be a little small. This is the original pot that was in before it fell off the bench. And I think it's outgrown this one too. Just a little too small. And it would work, but I'm going to give it a bigger pot. And I am one of those who has no problem in what's called over-potting. So putting a tree into a pot that's perhaps a little too big, and then letting it grow into the pot. So that's a pretty nice pot, but you see its dimensions are pretty. It's deep, and it's also visually it's got a lot of weight. But remember, when we're envisioning our trees growing, see, that's grow, 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 grow. Sorry. Yes, if you're thinking this guy's a goofball, you're probably right. But only on certain days. Only when my blood sugar is at a certain level. So is that a good pot? It's there. And then last but not least, we have this fairly decorative guy. And we put him in there. And I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that. I think that's the one I'm going to use. I was going to say that's the best, but I don't think I could use all 4 of them, and they'd be just fine. The tree would be just fine. But I do think that I like this one the best. This guy here was a little bit too big, too heavy visually, and the other 2 were just a tiny little bit too small. Especially with the knowledge that I'm going to grow this thing so it's higher and wider. So there we go. And then it's just a matter of adding the soil. typically don't go wash all the soil, all the old soil off of the old roots, because in the 40 years I've been doing this, I've never really found that to be all that necessary. But everybody has their own style. Everybody has their own techniques. And I try the best I can to not say things like, you should do it like this, or else you're not doing bonsai correctly. Because, there's a joke about bonsai soil. You ask 100 different people what soil they like, and you'll get 100 different mixes. So, find out what works for you. There you go. So, let's take him out of the tray. And I'm so bummed that the little sticker that used to say, plastic tray is gone. And it not only is gone, it disappeared into thin air. I thought that would be a good, fun running joke. Shall we get the root hook out of there too? Come with me. So there we go. Little disappointing that I did not get the root formation that I wanted. But nevertheless, pretty nice little tree. So what is that? Oh yeah, see, this is so weird because when I'm looking at it, it's like I don't see this strange little thing because that's the back branch, and I'd have to put it like that. So you know what? I think I am going to take that off because it just really looks weird. There we go. Oh no, put the scissors down or else the thing will be this high. Right, there we go. And I actually, this branch here is so heavy and it's way up on top, so it's going to get another pretty major reduction. Alright, there we go. Stop cutting it. And then, of course, all we have to do is wait. And it won't be long because Parrots Beak love to grow. And this is the time of the year. And I still cannot figure out why my phone, I'm using a phone as a camera, it constantly keeps switching focus. So it go boop, 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 boop. And man, that annoys me. I don't know if it annoys you. Anyway, Parrots Beak, originally knocked off the bench by raccoons. I attempted to get the root ball to be a little more symmetrical, but it didn't work. So, at this point, it's like, okay, you win. And then regrow a new apex, let the main branches fill back out. And I'm sure that over time it'll be a nice little tree. And I doubt very seriously if anyone's going to come and say, how come there's no roots right there? Of course, could happen. Maybe I just won't show it to anybody. Then nobody could complain. I love that logic. And of course, if you subscribe and you hit the notification bell, then you'll be able to watch this guy. And I think I'll probably update it a little less than a year. Like I said, the last video was a year. And I'll leave that video when we're done here, which is within the next few minutes. And you can watch that year-old video of the same tree, of me actually attempting to put root hormone on there and pushing it in there. And anyway, just didn't work. So that's it. So please push the like button, leave a comment, and if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And it all helps me push the logarithm out to more people. And that's it for this video. So thank you so much for watching Woodcrest Bonsai.